Hello there everyone and welcome to Altenew Academy. Today we're going to be playing with one of my favourite sets from the Thanks and Blessings release. The Dry Brushstrokes Poinsettia is such a beautiful stamp set and I love how this card turned out. So to start with, I am going to be using the Dry Brush Poinsettia and you can see just how pretty this is. Before I do start with this though, I am going to condition my stamp. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the acetate off the back of the stamp set. And then I'm going to take the stamp conditioning eraser from Altenew and rub it over all of the images. Really easy to do and it really works well. I'm then going to start by stamping the base image of the poinsettias. So for the base image, I am going to be using the very pretty pink pearl. It's a beautiful pink colour. Very dusky and it's one of my favorites. I go to it again and again. Now I am going to stamp 4 of these, but in the end I only needed 3. So if you are going to copy this design, I recommend that you just stamp 3 of these, or you could stamp 4 and then save another one for a different project. And once I have those done, I'm then going to move on to the second layer. And for these ones, I am going to be using the Coral Bliss. So this is the next in line of the Tea Party inks that I am using. So again, I'm just going to stamp these up and then line them up. A great way to kind of get these in position properly is to either use a stamp positioning tool, and you can also use the layering guide that's within the trifold to make sure that you have these perfectly before you do stamp them down. So once I have all of that layer done, I can then move on to the third layer. For this one, I'm using the Heartbeat. So this is third in line in the Tea Party inks. And I'm just going to, again, line these up into position onto those images. Now, because this is kind of a little bit artsy, I don't think it matters if you're a little bit off with these. So don't worry if you haven't got these completely lined up perfectly. It is still going to look absolutely gorgeous. So don't worry at all. So once I have finished with those, I can then move on to the flower centers. And for the flower centers, for the base one, I am going to be using the Pumpkin Pie ink. Now, I'm not going to worry about lining these up perfectly. You don't need to, because we're not going to die cut this little bit in the center anyway. I'm then going to move on to the yellow ochre, and this is what I'm going to use for the second layer of those centers. Again, I'm not lining these up perfectly again. So once I have all of my flowers complete, I'm then going to move on to the leaves. So I'm just going to be using both of the leaves for this, and I'm kind of randomly dotting these around in place. Now for the base layer of both of the leaves, I will be using the Forest Glades ink from Altenew, a really beautiful, kind of dusky, very earthy green colour. And then once I finished all of the base layers for the leaves, I'm then going to move on to the second kind of detail layer for these. It's going to add the shadow. And for these, I am going to be using the Evergreen ink. So this is a really dark ink. Very high contrast these leaves are going to be. I think they look really, really pretty. So I'm kind of spinning my paper around just to make sure that I'm going to get these nicely lined up. Once everything has been stamped, I'm then going to die cut everything. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take the coordinating dies, so these are the Dry Brush Poinsettia dies, and I'm going to place them around the stamped images. I'm then going to add a little bit of tape, washi tape, painter's tape, whatever you do have to hand will work perfectly for this, and then I'm just going to run that through my machine to die cut these images out. The tape really helps with stopping things shift while they do go through the machine. So once I've done that, I have a piece of navy cardstock. So this is 3 by 4 1/4, and I'm going to place that onto a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 white card base. Once that's done, I'm then going to play around with my little flower images. I say they're little, they're quite large, and I'm just going to pop them into place. I'm just using a little bit of the Altenew tape glue just to keep them in position while I do work with them a little bit further. I'm going to use the glue again to add the leaves in. Now I'm going to kind of poke these underneath the flowers that we have down there, but I'm going to put the tips of the leaves above the kind of flowers that we have, so it's going to give us lots of dimension that way. Once I've done that, I'm then going to add a little bit of an outline to my images. Now when we do cut the images, because we use some white cardstock, they are going to have a white outline around the outside. Now I don't want to necessarily see that white line when it's on the navy cardstock, So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Desert Night Artist marker and I'm just going to go around those small white edges that we have on the images. Now I'm just going to use this marker where it's going to be on the navy cardstock. So as you can see, the bits that are poking off the little panel that we have are going to stay white. So they're going to kind of blend in with the card base rather than the card panel. And I'm also going to add some of the marker to the white bits in the center of the flowers as well. So once I've finished with all of my little marker colouring, I'm then going to stick my images into place. Now I'm going to be adding some foam tape behind the flowers and I'm just going to line up those little edges that we have. So where they're blue, they're going to be on the navy cardstock, and then where they're white, they're going to poke off onto the card base. Once I have the flowers stuck into position with some foam tape, I'm then going to add the leaves in using glue tape. So again, I'm using my Altenew tape glue, my favorite glue ever. I did use it to keep things in place for a minute, but then if you do press it down nice and firmly, it is going to add that into place forever, so don't worry about it. I then wanted another leaf, so I'm just going to take one of those leaves again, quickly add a border with the Desert Night Artist marker and then pop that leaf into place. So once that has been done, I can then add my panel into place. So I'm just going to use some of the Altenew foam tape for this again, pop that into place, making sure that we have that nice white border around the outside, and then trim off any overhanging pieces from behind. So once I've done that, I then decided I want a little bit of bling to this. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to add some wet glue into the center of those flowers, and I'm going to be using some of the antique gold sequins from Altenew. I'm just going to be using some of the teeny tiny sequins to kind of make the little flower center, so it's going to really look really shiny and very, very pretty. I am using my little tweezers for this. They can be quite fiddly, but with the tweezers I did find that it helped a lot to get them into place with just exactly where I wanted to them. I also found that this really did make a huge difference to the way that the flowers looked. For this sentiment, I'm going to be using the Bold Thanks. Now there's two dies in here. I'm going to cut the shadow one from some Vellum and then the actual sentiment itself from some glitter cardstock. So once I have the little pieces cut to kind of shape, I'm then going to add these into place onto some double-sided adhesive, and this is going to make them into stickers when I do die cut them. So I'm just going to take the shadow image and I'm going to place that on top of the Vellum that has the double-sided adhesive on. And I'm then going to take the sentiment itself, again pop that into place onto that glitter cardstock, use a little bit of a metal shim to run this through because it is highly detailed and we do have a lot of thickness to get through. So once that's done, I can then remove the little Vellum one from the background, and then I also have my little sticky letters from the gold glitter. I'm then going to take my very handy tweezers again, and I'm going to use this to help me pop these little letters into position onto the shadow piece really easily. Now these ones line up very, very well. They're going to leave a little bit of a white border or vellum border around the outside. And I have to say, I really do love this sentiment. It's very, very pretty. And with that glitter cardstock, it looks very, very shiny and sparkly too. So once I've done that, I can then remove the backing of the vellum piece, and then I can pop this into place onto my card base. And once that's done, just press that down nice and firmly so it's not going to move anywhere. So I really do hope that you like the card and that you've enjoyed the video as well. If you do create a card that was inspired by this, it'd be great if you do share because we'd love to see. Thank you so much for watching everyone, and we'll see you again really, really soon. Bye bye.